I want to thank you all for being here. As usual, we're here at 3 o'clock talking to you about the latest and greatest, the things you need to know. So today we have a special person. I will introduce him in a minute. And until then, just some things that you need to be aware of. We do have now 3 members that I know of that have received or been approved for the Paycheck Protection programs. And I want you guys to be a part of that. So please get your application in. It's really important to find a bank and get your application in. Yesterday's webinar, newsletter had a link to banks that were helping with these loans. One thing I wanted to let you know is that through Allison, our wonderful lobbyist, she was able to talk with the Environment Department and get them to allow restaurants to sell convenience items. Now, this is something that, you know, they don't want us to go crazy, and we're not becoming grocery stores. We still have the restrictions of 5 people in our restaurant at any time with social distancing. But for those of you who might think about this, we also have on Friday, Cisco, New Mexico coming on to kind of tell us how you would set that up in your restaurant. And so that's going to happen on tomorrow's call. Nope, it's going to happen on Friday's call. For some reason, I keep thinking today is Thursday. It is not. And then on tomorrow, we will have Antonia Roybal-Mack back with the bankruptcy attorney, Erica Poindexter. One of the things I want to talk to you about, not to confuse, but to confuse. We got this direction today, which is about the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And you guys will remember this is the poster that we sent you last week about your responsibilities when somebody wants to take paid sick leave under this coronavirus situation. So this is their interpretation, the National Restaurant Association's interpretation of the regulation. So it goes further than the than the poster goes, to give you some clarification on how you need to deal with this. And this will be in our newsletter tomorrow, so look out for that. If you're not on our daily newsletter and alert, please go to our website. On the front page, homepage, scroll down until you get to subscribe here and subscribe for that. We're trying to give you as relevant information as we possibly can. And this is one of those things that we will post on there tomorrow. Beyond that, let me see. I think that's all I have. And I am just thrilled today to introduce you all to Tom Schuch. Tom is our new Director of Education at the New Mexico Restaurant Association. I've been having a lot of folks talk to me about sanitation in restaurants. And I know you all are doing everything you possibly can to keep things clean. And we've all had ServSafe training. We've all had, you know, food handler training. We know what to do. Unfortunately, our customers have not. And they see us handling food without gloves. And of course, that's that's the raw food. You're not handling the other food. And I'm going to let Tom talk about this. But sometimes we need to have to have an appearance of more than. And now is one of those times. Your takeout person should have gloves on. Your entire operation should have masks. And I'm just saying this because people are taking this very seriously. And if they think you're not taking it seriously, not only does it reflect back on your restaurant, but it reflects on the restaurant industry, and people will say, I'm not going to go get takeout because it's dangerous. So that's kind of where this came from. I asked Tom if he would help me out with this today, and he said he would. So Tom, I'm going to hand it over to you. If you want to share your screen, that would be great.
Thanks, Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Tom Schuch. I've been teaching the ServSafe classes for the Restaurant Association for the past couple of years. And then I've recently been hired in this position as the Director of Education. And so basically what Carol's asked me to do today is kind of take you through some of the things that we're doing now, obvious practices that if you've been a ServSafe certified person for a while, you probably do all these things already. But it's probably a good idea for us now to enhance our normal daily practices. And so,
Tom,
yeah.
would you share your screen?
Oh,
we're not seeing your screen.
There we go. Sorry.
No problem.
Here we go. Okay. Now I'm going to go through this first document here. Will explain a lot for us, and then I'm going to take you through from the back door of your restaurant to the front door to the sidewalk where we are delivering and handing food to people, and some of the practices that we can or that we should be doing these days. So this is a really great document. It's from the EEOC, the Employment Equal Opportunity Employment Office. And here's some things that we need to know. First of all, can your employer ask you if you've had symptoms associated with the coronavirus? Fever, chills, cough, shortness of breath, sore throat, so on. If you've been tested and what the results were, and if you've had contact with anyone with symptoms who has been tested, who has tested positive. So yes, they can ask these things, but it has to be directly related to the coronavirus or the COVID-19 virus. You can't ask about other things, perhaps underlying conditions and so forth. So any other medical information, which is in that second paragraph there. Employers can take your temperature when you arrive to work. People have been asking this for the past couple of weeks. It is okay to do that.
And can I say not only okay, but probably something you should do and something you should tell your customers that you're doing. I mean, these are hypersensitive times, and if you can do it, the problem right now, I think, is getting a thermometer that you can do the just shoot the forehead piece. But anyway, I think it is very important.
Yeah, it is. And I agree 100% with that. And even go so far as to let your customers know what you're doing. Maybe put a placard out that says, we are doing these things to make our staff safe and you safe. And this would be one of those. The next one, your employer can require you to provide a doctor's note certifying your fitness to return to work if they've asked you to stay home based on reasonable objective evidence that you may have been infected. However, the CDC is recommending probably less formal confirmation in order not to bog down the health care system. Doctors, I've heard, just personally, don't have time for these notes to make sure that you're okay to go back to work. Anyway, it's a good thing to do if you can do it. If your employer have coronavirus or its symptoms, they can inform fellow employees of their possible exposure to the virus, but they should not identify you. And that would fall under HIPAA laws, where they cannot identify you, but they can let the other staff members know that they may have been exposed, which would be important to know. And those are the basic rules. I think a lot of people have been asking about these lately. So what I want to do is just kind of take everybody through the usual scenario. We do this during our ServSafe classes. We start at the back door of the restaurant and go through the restaurant, through the kitchen, through the front of the house, out the front door. Okay. So basically, some of the practices that we all know and love need to be enhanced. For instance, Cleaning and sanitizing practices. It's now recommended by the CDC that everything gets cleaned and sanitized. They're even recommending for hard surfaces like floors, walls perhaps, stainless steel, that you use a higher concentration of sanitizer when you're cleaning those. And you can look those up on the CDC website. I highly recommend going to that website. There's a ton of information there. And a lot of it you can look up is directly related to our business. So they're recommending that. They're recommending more thorough cleaning than we're used to. So every surface in your restaurant, whether it's vertical or horizontal, should be cleaned. Even though, you know, very few people are going to come into the restaurant, they still recommend that, front of the house and back of the house. Wash hands often, of course. You know, we've been hearing that, and we've been teaching the 20-second rule for years through Serve Safe, and now everybody knows about that 20-second rule. Hear a lot of people singing "Happy Birthday" as the water's running. And my adage for this, and when it comes to gloves, is never cover up a dirty hand with a glove. Cover up a clean hand with a glove. Gloves are cheap. They're plentiful, or they should be. Hopefully they still are. And your staff should be changing those gloves regularly. I've been into a number of grocery stores and other stores over the past several weeks and have witnessed varying degrees of precautions that businesses are taking. Some are doing really well and lining people up outside 6 feet apart. Others don't seem to care so much. But in our business, the number one thing for us right now is to instill a sense of confidence in our customers that they are coming into your restaurant or to your restaurant and they will be safe and their food will be safe. And if we can do that throughout our industry here in New Mexico, I think we'll be a lot better off. There are a couple of stores I will not go back to now because of the lack of precautions that they're taking. And I think that is true of restaurants too. So basically, in general, check temperatures in your refrigerators and your freezers. Remember that we are still being inspected. Even through this slowdown, we are being inspected. So make sure your temperatures are right in your freezers and refrigerators. Make sure your food is at the right temperatures. Make sure that all of your to-go boxes and utensils are appropriate for the food you're sending out. It's recommended, National Restaurant Association is recommending that you label everything that goes out your door so your customers know exactly what it is. Again, this will instill confidence that you are doing your job and that they will be safe. The Sani buckets, they need to be checked often. I would just check them and clean them out, change that water twice as much as you used to at least. The more we can do these kinds of things, the more confidence, not only your customers, but your staff too. I know staff and employees in all businesses are scared right now. They want to be as safe as your customers do. So if you can instill confidence in them as they work throughout the day, they will pass that on to the customers, that sense of confidence. So basically a couple of things here. What about gloves? Are they required? What about mask covering or cloth coverings or masks? Are they required? For the most part, gloves, not mandated, but in our business, it's a really good idea, isn't it? Even when you walk out of the kitchen and you're delivering some to-go food to the front door, it's a good idea to have gloves on. It's a good idea for your delivery service, if you're using a delivery service, to do the same things you are, wearing a mask, wearing gloves, and so forth. It wouldn't make sense if you had a delivery service that didn't do or follow the precautions that you're taking. Face coverings, I know that LA has now mandated those. If you're out in public, they have mandated face coverings. It's not mandated here, but it's recommended, and it's a really good idea. So if your staff is working with the public, it's a really good idea for them to have gloves and a face covering. It's also recommended by the Environment Department here in New Mexico for growlers and other, in the past things that you could refill, clean and refill, like a growler at the microbreweries, they're recommending not to do that, to consider them one-use only items when you're filling those. So if you're using a takeout and delivery service, so we've gone through the restaurant, it's much cleaner now. Everybody's wearing a face covering and gloves. And if you're able to do the takeout and delivery that we're still allowed to do, you have some choices. You can utilize delivery services, Grubhub, Uber Eats, and so forth. And that's great. That's really great. And some of them are offering discounts or free delivery at times. If you're using a service, make sure that they are using all the precautions that you're using so that it is seamless. So when that food is delivered to your customer at their house, they feel confident that their food has gotten there safely and that the whole process has been safe. If you're delivering on your own, there's a couple of things you need to consider. A lot of restaurants do this. Pizza joints especially will deliver. If you're doing this for the first time, you need to know that you have to have insurance to do it. You have to cover yourself.
Yeah.
If your staff or your deliverers are using their own vehicles, those vehicles have to be dependable, they have to be insured, and the driver needs to have a current driver's license, of course. That could be very useful to do that kind of delivery. Again, those deliverers should have gloves and a face covering on when they deliver that food. There is no evidence to date, as of this morning when I looked at the CDC site, that packaging carries the virus. It has been said off and on the past few weeks that metal surfaces will harbor the virus for even up to 6 or 8 hours. Boxes and plastics and other things that we use to deliver food in don't do that, as far as we know now. So we can assume that it's safe until we hear otherwise.
So one thing I want to tell you, Tom,
Yes.
and everybody else on the call, is that many of the jurisdictions that have banned plastic bags have brought them back because they don't want people using their reusable bags for sanitation purposes, which is one of the reasons we told them in the first place they shouldn't ban plastic bags. But they are bringing them back, and they are not letting people use their reusable bags. So just a point of order there. And so if you are in one of those jurisdictions, you can contact me to find out if that jurisdiction has rolled back their plastic bag ban, if you feel like you're not using plastic bags. And for the most part, you guys are using single use items anyway. You're not letting people put their your food in their bag. So I don't think it's a problem, but if you're interested, let me know. Again, Santa Fe, Albuquerque, and Las Cruces, I think, have rolled back their plastic bans.
That's great. Thank you, Carol. And then again, with takeout items, I know a lot of places, and we're going to talk more about this on Friday with special things that restaurants but they're using special menus. They're putting together menus for large numbers of people, like 3 or 4 people for dinner. And they're also selling convenience items. Somebody told me the other day that one restaurant is adding a roll of toilet paper in all of their to-go bags, which is, it's funny, but there's
No,
not a lot
and
of
that's okay. It's when you charge $3 a roll that we have a problem with that. That's price gouging, and we don't want you to do that. So just be careful. Yeah, give it away is fine. Sell it for a reasonable price is fine. Gouging is not good.
So it is okay to sell convenience items like that, as Carol says, as long as you're not gouging people. That includes food too, including ready-to-eat food and TCS food. So raw meats and so forth, as long as it's packaged correctly and you're following the rules that any grocery store would have to follow. Another suggestion is, in terms of sanitation also, is to not take money, cash or coins, because as you know, money is dirty. People are taking cards over the phone. They are reading the numbers to the person that's giving them the food. They are not signing the receipt. So any way to avoid contact, which credit cards is a good way to do that. So that's really about it. I mean, in terms of sanitation, we just have to enhance what we're already doing and then make the public very confident that we are being safe, their food is safe, and it's safe for them to come to our restaurants or to order food from our restaurants. I have a couple of documents I just want to share with you real quick here. This one is the CO of the COVID-19 guidelines that we put up on our site, takeout and delivery. It's a nice list of good practices, best practices.
That's not showing up on our screen.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
Did you
sorry.
get it on the right screen? We're still seeing the EEOC new guidance.
Huh. All right, let me try it over.
See, this Zoom technology is not as easy as I make it look, huh?
I make it look a lot harder than it is. Okay, I know what I'm doing wrong. New share. There we go. Okay, can you see that?
Oh, it's coming. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
And you can just move stuff to the screen that you're, change out the stuff on the screen.
Okay, great.
Most of the time, stuff doesn't always work that way. Okay, so tell us what we're seeing.
So one thing that's interesting about this particular document, this is from North Carolina State University, is at the bottom here. What happens in your body if you do ingest coronavirus through food? There is no evidence that this virus is being transmitted through food or water, primarily through respiratory droplets, and that's what it says right here. So it talks about what happens when the virus gets in your body and how it spreads. So I find that to be a really interesting document there. Let's see if I can find this other one. Nope, lost it. Okay, anyway, the sources of information are these sites. The CDC website, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, that's cdc.gov. Our website, New Mexico Restaurant Association, which is nmrestaurants.org. We have daily additions to the information directly related to our business. So you can look that up every day, and it's all up to date. The New Mexico Environment Department, which is ENV, is it New Mexico?
I don't know. It's on our website, though. I mean, yeah. And
sorry
it has
about
to do
that.
with
They have up-to-date information also
yeah.
on what's going on here. The National Restaurant Association, of course, servesafe.com. Again, is going to have cleaning and sanitizing information for us, up-to-date information relating directly to our business. So that's it. Do we have questions?
ServeSafe is also offering some free
food handler classes.
Food handler and takeout and delivery. So it's a little bit different than what they've ever done before. But if you're wondering what you should do, how you need to incorporate takeout and delivery into what you're doing, that's one of the ways to do it, is go through that ServeSafe class. And before we break to questions, I want to share my screen here. You guys tell me when you see it.
Can see it.
Okay, so this comes from the National Restaurant Association and Restaurant Law Center. And I just wanted to share this with you. Can you require employees to wear a face cloth? Because one of our questions, Tom, is about they're concerned about safety issues of homemade masks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to bring this up. The CDC updated their guidance to recommend the use of simple cloth-based coverings that cover the nose and mouth to slow the spread of the virus and help people who may have the virus and do not know it from transmitting it to others. Cloth face coverings fashioned from household items are made at home from common materials at low cost, can be used at restaurants as an additional voluntary public health measure. Employers may require the use of face coverings relying on the CDC guidance unless there's an accommodation request that should be addressed on a case-by-case basis. So some jurisdictions, and I know I had a conversation with my colleague in California, and he said a lot of California jurisdictions are requiring face masks. I also saw something very interesting the other day, and it was that the countries that are using face masks are not having the problems that all of our other countries that we're not used to using face masks. So Singapore, Japan, some of those countries are just not having the problems. They're used to, anytime you're sick, you wear a face mask in those countries. It's considered rude not to. So, so people use face masks all the time. I just do want to say that I think it's a really important optic to have your employees use face masks. So I want to go through some of these questions.
And I'll add to that, Carol.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've been using a dust mask that you would use if you're painting or doing woodworking, that kind of thing. And those, the cheap things, because I thought, well, these are denser, they're made for this kind of thing. But I looked at the packaging and I read the fine print on the packaging, and it says very specifically, this is not to be worn to prevent viruses. And they listed all the major outbreaks, H1N1 in the past, SARS in the past 15 or 20 years. So I thought that was really interesting. But for me, I thought it would be better than a bandana. But a face mask regardless is going to help.
Right, and you could do something cool like buy bandanas that all match and wash them on a daily basis if you're concerned about sanitation. I definitely wouldn't let employees take them home. I mean, necessarily to wash them, just that's not necessarily going to get done. So you need to do something that makes sure you're doing a single use something or washing it yourself. The guidance, we really don't want to be taking face masks from the healthcare industry. We want to be fashioning our own kind of face masks. So I'm just saying the next thing that's going to happen, and our governor is very concerned about the healthcare industry, and the next thing that is going to happen is that she's going to require face masks, and we just need to be ready for that. And I think a little proactivity on our part is important.
And the CDC does actually have a video demonstration on their website on how to make one, a homemade face mask.
Oh, very cool.
Okay, do we have questions?
Yeah. So yes, we will tomorrow. So it says, can you share links like the one you have on right now? And yes, we will share all of these things in tomorrow's newsletter, as well as we will link to them on our Corona page. Now, sometimes it's hard to find those links, all the ones that we've talked about today. So if you look at tomorrow's newsletter, you'll find all the links in there. And Tom, saying that, would you please send all of the links to the pages that you showed us? Would you send those to Lawrence as well?
Sure. Of course.
He's our website guy, and he keeps you guys informed with our daily alerts. Can you add HEPA filter inside of your home? Oh, you can add HEPA filter inside your homemade mask. Oh.
Carol, answer below. CDC is not recommending adding anything to the cloth face masks that are being homemade. as they can impair your breathing. Filters that are made for your home or your vacuum cleaner are not intended to be breathed through. So you want to be very careful. You could end up suffocating yourself or your employees by doing that. The only thing they are recommending is tightly woven cotton cloth. Nothing else in it, 100% cotton.
Okay, so go to the CDC website and see that video. And is there any news on allowing restaurants to deliver alcohol, especially with liquor stores closing? Nothing. I was very, I was just floored when she closed the liquor stores. So we can't get anything going on that. And we had tried, trust me.
I did tease the staff, one of the staffers for the governor's office, and asked him where I was going to get my Everclear for my hand sanitizer.
Carol, there is a question from the very beginning that we didn't get to.
So what documentation can we ask for from our employees if they are requested sick leave? I think if they have requested sick leave. Additionally, how do we come up with an agreed upon number of hours for part-time employees who worked less than 6 months? These are separate questions. So this goes back to this, and I'm not going to read this right now. I'm pretty sure what document you can ask for, documentation you can ask for, employer coverage. I'm pretty sure it's in here, but if you will look for that, I don't know exactly what documentation you can ask for. So read this. I know it's in here. I just don't want to read through it right now and in front of everybody. That's like doing public math. I don't do that either. Additionally, how do we come up with an agreed upon number of hours for part-time employees who work less than 6 months? Would you tell me what that has to do with? Is that in relation, Sigar, to this Families First Corona Response Act? Because I think that too is in here. Let me see. So, yeah, let me not answer that right now.
Carol, number of hours are at the very top of that. Definitions: full-time, 40 hours or more. Part-time or not full-time. That's all it says.
Yeah. We may need more clarification for you on that. Any more questions? Oh, Sager, yes, if someone asks for sick leave, we have to pay them for 10 days. It says to use a 6-month average to calculate that, but if it's not available, then use an agreed upon number of hours. I don't know who you're supposed to agree upon that with. Yeah, this is supposed to, this whole page is supposed to make this easier for you, and I don't know if they've really clarified that much.
Coming from HR, I would go, and part-time employees, I would go average number of hours for the last 6 months divided by X number of weeks, you know, whatever.
So Amber says it says part-time employees, it's the average hours for 2 weeks if they haven't been there for that long.
Carol, you have a question, or Tom, you have a question about if someone gets tested positive in the kitchen, what's the protocol to clean or shut down?
Tom, I'm gonna let you take that.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, sure, anytime. Do you, and if you don't know, just say you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if there is a protocol for that yet.
Oh, I saw something today. I'm looking at way too many things. Let me look that up and we'll have it on tomorrow's call. If I remember, I will remember that it's a chat. Two new questions. Let's see. For a server who earns $3 an hour, does she get paid $9 an hour on sick leave? Yes, from what I understand, that it is the minimum wage, not the, it's definitely not the minimum wage for servers. It is the minimum wage is what you would pay on a sick leave for servers.
The prior question is on the Environment Department. We have a link to their site. If someone is suspected or tests positive for coronavirus, do I have to close? NMED cannot require you to close, but we strongly encourage you to follow the CDC recommendations for environmental cleaning and disinfecting, which includes closing off areas used by the ill persons, and wait as long as practical before beginning cleaning and disinfection to minimize potential for exposure to respiratory droplets. Open outside doors and windows to increase air circulation in the area. If possible, wait up to 24 hours before beginning cleaning and disinfection.
Brilliant. Cindy, would you send that on to Lawrence too, and we'll put that in tomorrow's
We already have it on the
website?
virus page. It's the NMED COVID-19 FAQs. Right
Talk
there.
to me about where that's at.
Right there. Stop. NMED COVID-19 FAQs.
There you go.
There you go. And it's question number 10.
Yes, okay.
Also give 11 is how can I prevent coronavirus in my restaurant?
So these are great, and can I just say I love my staff. They know where to go to answer questions, so don't hesitate to call our office. We all know where to go. It's a little hard on just spur of the moment on these calls, but we've got some good resources and they're using them, and they're happy to help you. Thanks, Cindy. Do we have to continue to pay ER sick pay if their symptoms exceed the 2-week period? You certainly don't want them back in your business. And I don't know if you have to continue to pay.
I think the medical leave, sick leave, other document set up to 10 weeks.
That's for the second part of that. So if you see this, up to 12 weeks of paid sick leave and expanded family medical leave at 2/3 for qualifying reasons 5 below. So if they're caring for a child whose school is closed, then they can get up to 10 weeks. Otherwise, up to 12 weeks. Otherwise, it's up to 2 weeks or 80 hours. So I don't think you are required to pay it beyond the 80 hours. So Candela said, we've also been getting questions about what those who are coming up on expired manager certifications should and can do. Alcohol and food handler are being able to be done online, but what should those who are supposed to be in a manager class that have been canceled, or staff who weren't registered for a class but are now coming up on their need to recertify? So Good question, and we're trying to do what we can. So we have actually, Tom has graciously videotaped the class. So we believe we'll have that up online so that people can take the class and wait to get it proctored until after this. Now we have talked to the environmental, the EID for the state, and they have said that they will not require you to have a certification at this moment or a recert, because they know that the proctoring has to be in person, but they want to know that you're set up for a class. So if you need to set up for a class, call Cindy at the office. She or Terry can get you into a class. But honestly, we're kind of canceling classes right now, so it's going to be a little bit dicey. But what we think we're going to do is have you watch the video if you need that. Number one. Number two, when we get to come back and have classes, we will be proctoring classes. We will keep people 6 feet apart. So we'll be proctoring classes like twice a week in our office so that we can get you guys through that, and you don't have to necessarily sit in a classroom with 28 other people all day. Until then, the Environment Department has said that they have basically struck the mandate for this time being. And if you have any other questions on that, you can talk to, again, Cindy or Terry in our office. Tom is another one you can talk to about that. We do not and have not talked to the city of Albuquerque. So if anybody's having a problem with them, please let us know, and we will be talking to them as well.
Just a reminder, there are online courses for alcohol server that don't require any proctoring. The food handler class is offered for free. If you need a link, call the office. If you want to register for the manager class so that you can get a book to study, please call us. We are more than happy to just charge you for the book and send you out the book without registration also. So office numbers 343-9848, area code's 505.
The only other thing to mention is we've also seen an uptick in people signing up to do the online manager course, not realizing that you still have to have that proctored in person. So you end up registering and doing the online course, and then you end up still having to go through us to do the in-person proctoring. So it is a far, far better deal financially if you just go through us, even now, rather than sign up online to do the manager course and then have to sign up again through us to get it proctored.
Yes, thank you for that clarification as well. And somebody said the U.S. Department of Labor has a great Q&A on the FFCRA. I'm going to assume this is it.
Carol, there's been a couple of questions on the alcohol sale and delivery.
Yeah.
And if I can just chime in just a sec on that. What we're hearing from the administration, from both ABC and the governor's office, is that the governor does not feel it is within her emergency powers to change statute. And so, unfortunately, allowing the restaurants who are not package, who do not have their package abilities still, then they cannot sell alcohol at this point. The messages keep going out to them. We keep talking about it, but just so you know, we're still hearing the same thing over and over again, and that is that this is not within the governor's emergency powers.
So one of the reasons we're doing this as well with this campaign for liquor is because if there is a special session, we would like the legislature to allow that, at least for this time.
Correct.
We're being shut down. So just know that that message is going to the governor, and it's also going to your local legislators. And if you know a legislator, please don't hesitate to mention that and mention how important it is to our industry. Unfortunately, the further this goes on, the less important it is, because I think more and more restaurants will be not open in order to sell liquor or deliver liquor.
Carolyn, is there anything else besides the petitions that we have been promoting that people should be doing or can be doing to try and move that forward at all?
You know, that's really it. The governor doesn't feel like she can make that move unilaterally without the legislature. The legislature isn't meeting. They're probably going to have to come in for a special session, but that's going to be more about the oil and gas money going away, and probably the fact that without people working, they're not getting payroll taxes at the state level, and also there's no gross receipts tax coming in. So there's a lot of things for them to discuss right now. I don't know that we're going to be at the top of that agenda, but certainly we're going to be on their minds because they're getting our messages.
Absolutely. And just kind of to let you all know on that issue of the governor not being able to change statute and the fact that other states seem to be allowing this, those other states where the governors have done this by executive order, those states have given their governors the ability to change statute in an emergency. So that's just kind of an interesting thing what New Mexico hasn't done and other states have done. But we'll see.
Well, and just getting into the details of that, a lot of states have natural disasters like hurricanes and things that allows their governors to call for a shelter in place. Our governor can't even do that. She has to call for a stay at home. So, and that is because we don't have natural disasters in New Mexico. She hasn't been given that. And now we have this disaster, and we have not given that ability to our governor. So that's my understanding anyway. Patrick, you want to unmute yourself? Is this the Q&A you were talking about?
Yes, it is the Q&A I was talking about.
Okay.
And we found it very informative to help us make decisions because we were in an emergency board meeting today to decide how to move forward. And when we came up across this, it was very daunting. And we were wondering if it could be, you know, that we exposed ourselves so far that we have to close down because of this. And we're thinking not, but we're getting more direction from Antonia.
Okay, good. Well, if she comes up with something that you think you can share with us, Antonia is going to be on the call tomorrow talking about bankruptcy, so she might share what she comes up with as well.
Yeah, we're meeting with her tomorrow, so there may be ways, and in this program, they calculate full time at 40 hours, not 30 hours. Because there is an exemption for small business. There's a small business exemption. We may qualify for that. We may not. We're not exactly sure, but it looks like the money comes back to you pretty quickly. So you're not, you know, putting out money, going bankrupt, and then getting a tax rebate the next year as you're bankrupt.
Right. So it's coming quarterly. Is that correct?
Good question. We have the document you sent us, and then another document, and we're not sure how to understand it. We're doing the research on it right now. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I won't make you be the expert, but I appreciate it.
I'm no expert. Thank you.
By tomorrow, you may be the expert. So
I'm glad to share whatever, you know, help. But we thought that this FFCRA on first blush was very daunting for administering and for exposing ourselves to potential bankruptcy in a time when we're trying to get federal loans to help us keep in business.
Yeah.
You know, it's all these conflicts. It's like the $600 extra for unemployment. It's like we're fighting internally how to keep things rolling for different reasons.
Yes, I certainly understand that. Question here, does anyone know what the state is doing with gross receipts tax that has to be paid for the next couple of months and is going to be difficult for response to pay? We've not heard that we're getting any relief on that.
Let's see here.
Supposedly, what's happening with that is, I mean, you're not going to have that much gross receipts, but you're going to have to, because because it's a pass-through, you're collecting gross receipts tax from your customer in order to pay it to the state. It's not a tax that you pay from your gross receipts necessarily. So I don't think we're going to get any relief on that. And Allison, do you know any different than that?
I don't. I know we put our name to some communications requesting at least that penalties and interest be waived for a bit, but we have not heard anything back on that.
Sorry about that, Anya. Do we have any other questions? Any other thoughts? Seeing none, I really appreciate you guys being on the call. Tom, thank you for your expertise on this, and we'll see everybody tomorrow on the call. You know, I would like for you all to be on that because it's about bankruptcy, and I know many of you are not thinking about this, but what I want you to think about is how do you protect your personal assets? You may have lawyers and accountants that have already done this for you, and in that case, you don't need to be here. If you don't have lawyers and accountants that have already done this for you, you need to be here because we don't know what's going to happen. And, you know, I want you guys to be protected. So thank you all for being here today. Thank you again, Tom. We'll see you all tomorrow.